Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and the governor and I have a really long history. We're friends. Crazy about his kids and his wife, but I'm not going to spend my 5 minutes pretending that we agree on anything. I'm going to start by suggesting to you, Governor, that I just don't believe your $3.6 billion structural deficit. I think that I served on the Finance Committee for many years, and the chairman has asked the right question: state and local government spending cuts, choice or necessity? That $3.6 billion structural deficit, I'm not going to call it a structural deficit, is simply the difference between what the agencies request and your austere budget. So in between there's a lot of debate about whether or not there's a $3.6 billion structural deficit. You know, even when you consider stuff like the Medicaid payment, which was one time only, $169 million, $200 million in that patient's compensation fund that the courts say you got to pay back. But of course, that wasn't even in your budget repair bill. Or the $58 million for the Minnesota Reciprocity Fund, which also was not in your budget reconciliation bill. The Fiscal Bureau for current year fiscal 11, you had $121 million in cash, which is not a lot of money. So you started out by giving $117 million worth of tax breaks, which reduces revenue for the next fiscal year. And in contrast to giving these wealthy people tax breaks, you cut the earned income tax credit, doubling the taxes on the poorest parents by cutting the earned income tax credit. With respect to collective bargaining, you know, you said in your testimony that folks were running and having a fit to settle contracts that they had been working on for a year. All 11 examples that you've given were already the members were making concessions around health care. Every single one of the 11 people that you raised. You said yourself that the pension fund is 99.67% funded. So the question is choice or necessity. And in terms of public workers making more money than the private sector, that is not true. They make 8.2% less considering their education and training, and that's what pension funds are, deferred compensation. They have bargained for years for less money in order to have a pension, which is deferred compensation. Now let me ask you, choice or necessity? Did you really have to end Medicaid benefits for dialysis patients or put waiting lists for disabled people who need home care? What in the world does balancing a budget have to do with your program in Milwaukee to expand education vouchers so that the richest person in Milwaukee County can take $6,500 away from the poorest kids in the state for education? What in the world does that have to do with balancing a budget? You reinstate the 30-hour work week on welfare recipients, and you tax welfare recipients $20 a month to balance the budget. Transportation. I know you would, if there's time, if the chairman is given time, because I'm using my 5 minutes to make my statement. You know, you're going to say you gave $410 million to your favorite fund and your favorite folk you love, to the highway people. $410 million that governors in the past have rated it for education. You took $1 billion out of education, which most governors don't do, but you didn't do it for transit. There are 12 communities in Wisconsin that give 24 million rides a year that are going to suffer because of what you've done. And you know, you're going to lose $46 million in federal funding because you've taken collective bargaining away, and that's against federal law. And so, you know, Governor, I asked the question, if you have time to answer, state and local government spending cuts, choice or necessity?